Okay, we're back with another episode, and we're going to talk about one of my favorite, um, well, my favorite new games that I've kind of started getting into, and it's called The Hidden World. Now, the cool thing about The Hidden World is that it is a heavily inspired by Japanese mythology RPG and tabletop RPG, and they've actually begun to recently add more Western RPG concepts. So, without much ado, let's talk about the Hidden World. Now, the cool thing about the Hidden World is that, in my opinion, is that it essentially is built upon the concept of we live in a world where there are various creatures, very, very powerful creatures, which essentially have been in hiding. Um, and essentially, people just, they don't talk about these mystical creatures that no one knows anything about. So, the Hidden World is a fun game, and I really enjoy it. So, I'll get into the premise and all that type of stuff after the cut. So, here's the premise behind the Hidden World. It basically takes place in a not too distant future, kind of like Shadowrun, where essentially the creatures of myth and legend fought a war against humanity like millennia ago, and they lost. But they weren't going to leave their world, so they basically clothed themselves in a kind of hidden dimension, if you will, called the Hidden World. And basically, the Hidden World is exactly what it sounds like. It's where all of these magical creatures live that's hidden. Like Joe Blow average person doesn't know about it. And that's what the Hidden World is really all about. It's these creatures living in this awesomely badass hidden world and how they deal with those issues. So that's where the game starts to get really good. You create a character, and you get together. This is a tabletop game. It's unique because in order to play the Hidden World the way it's meant to be played, you have to have at least 5 people, at least 6 people, excluding the DM. So it's kind of, you need a full party. But the cool thing about the Hidden World is that like the first mission for every Hidden World game, the first campaign has your characters being in a situation where they accidentally, normal human beings, get to the Hidden World. And some of the things that go on are actually pretty cool. So the explanations of certain things going down. So, like you might find out that a guy who has a really, really hot wife, like she's a stone cold fox, she literally is a kitsune. She really is a fox. Or a football player who is like, American football player who's really good at making tackles. They call him the Beast. Turns out he's actually a damn ogre. So it has a really good principle about it. And one of the cool things is that depending on how you make your characters, you can initially be just a normal human who's part of the Hidden World. You can be a human being who who is a half-breed, or someone who never knew that he was part of the Hidden World, who finds themselves a part of it now. So it's a really interesting game. So I'm going to tell you about the first time I played this game and my character build and all that type of fun stuff after the cut. So the first time I played the Hidden World was ironically, I went to a friend of mine's place in Japan when I was on business, and this guy is an otaku, like he's really really nerdy, and so we basically um, he's in the D&D just like I am, so we were like, well, hey, let's play a game. So what we wound up doing is playing this game, and it was hilarious. I mean, we had a lot of fun. So um, I created my character. I remember it very clearly. I played a kitsune that didn't know I was a kitsune. So like I did not like my character had all these awesome abilities, but he didn't know about it, which I thought was a really cool thing that he had these abilities, but he had no idea that they existed. Um, so basically, um, and the rest of our party, like the other three people, were just normal Joe Blow average guy, and um, and the two girls who were playing with us were playing, if I remember correctly, one of them was playing like a arachnia uh, spider chick, kind of, which I thought was kind of cool. And I mean, ultimately, it was a really good game. Um, so the general gist of the base game is that your character is essentially initially in the beginning of the game is just this random everyday guy who's trying to make things happen. And in the case of my character, I was uh, a guy who made his money gambling, and I messed up and gotten with the wrong people, and they were gonna fuck me up. But fortunately, in trying to f me up, it turns out that since my character is basically a kitsune, like one of the guys finds out that essentially I'm I'm a kitsune by accident, and he turns out to be one of them too. They call them bakamonos, and so they don't kill me. So luckily, I'm not murdered. Um, and that's where the game really opens up, because you essentially discover like a lot of shit goes down at that point, you know. So it's at this point that the game really starts to open up a bit, and yeah, um, I enjoyed it. Like you're essentially going through and doing things and going into quests. It's a little bit different from D&D in that like the way that you do combat is a little bit different. Um, like you use dice, but the dicing isn't the same way. It isn't done the same way that it's done in other titles. So yeah, but overall, it's a really good game, and I would advise everyone to play a game like this because it's really good. But the only real downside with the title is that essentially your character kind of has a few things that are kind of like iffy going on, but aside from that, it's a really good game. The first campaign had us dealing with this rift where demons were selling this. this new drug that essentially was. This drug came from monstrous creatures, but no one knew that these were monstrous creatures. So people were being fucking murdered and didn't like. No one knew like what was going on with these people, and it was like a basically like this blood. This drug was made from the blood of different Japanese mythological creatures. So, and they were being victimized, and the people who were ODing on this stuff and like transforming, it was messing with the hidden world's rule of not being not being exposed, because people who weren't part of the hidden world were turning into like bastardized versions of these characters. So like athletes would take Red Rush, which is comes from ogres, and basically were like hulking out and fucking shit up. So the campaign was actually really fun. It was very different from anything we'd ever seen before, and I thought that it was pretty well done. I mean, I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was overall pretty well done. So, one of the big things about the campaign was that your character basically, as the game went along, you could basically choose like every second level. You could choose like something to upgrade, and what happened with me is that like basically. Like, whenever my character would upgrade, I'd choose, like, a Kitsune ability. Because my character was a crossbreed, so it made sense for me to be able to do that. And, I mean, overall, it was pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying the game was perfect. It had its flaws, if you will. But overall, pretty good. The only real downside with the title, in my opinion, was just with the campaign we had a few iffy parts where people were gaming the system in order to get certain things that were kind of cheap. But yeah, the Hidden World, if you like a setting where you're essentially fighting against like dragons and demons and oni and Japanese monsters and Momono and Bakemono and stuff like that, it's a great setting. So with that being said, that's my pitch for the Hidden World. I don't know if it's in America. You might have to find certain means in order to find a Japanese version of the a U.S. translation, English translation of the Japanese dungeon manual. Game manual. So, I mean, it is what it is. And I'll tell you about upcoming events after the... Okay then, so here's what's coming up next week. Actually, this week. We have this Saturday, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the BS Buster. We have a new show that's being launched on my channel called Sci-Fi Power Hour-ish, where we'll talk about sci-fi games, because not sci-fi games, sci-fi pop culture type stuff, but mostly science fiction. Last week, on the first episode, we did focus primarily on Star Trek. Whereas this episode is going to focus on Gojira. The next one will probably focus either on Ray Harryhausen or Star Wars. It depends. I might do Ray Harryhausen, because there's a lot of people who don't know about Ray Harryhausen. It's always good to know about one of the masters of practical special effects. But yeah, so look forward to that. Also, this Sunday, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the BS Buster Cast will be going on. Triple M, the usual suspects will be there. Triple M, Jewel Rider, Moonstar, maybe Contrarian Bastard. So look forward to that. Have fun, enjoy, and peace.